Hi, everybody. Hi. So this is using Drupal Commerce for rich e-commerce experiences. My name is Matt Glaman. I am a senior Drupal consultant at Commerce Guys. That means I do our client work. I'm a co-maintainer of Drupal Commerce, specifically in the 2.x branch. I'm also the author of the Drupal 8 Development Cookbook, which came out last year at MidCamp is when it hit some people's doors. So, Drupal Commerce is a native e-commerce framework for Drupal. It's not the only one. There is another one out there. But our mantra is that we power truly flexible e-commerce. So why Drupal Commerce? Why would you pick this over any non-Drupal solution, or maybe make it a different Drupal or a different solution? So Drupal provides the best framework, we believe. Think about if you use Magento, they had to build their own authentication system, rendering system, everything out there. Drupal gives you content management. It has all of these other bits that are created with it by others, so you stand on the shoulders of giants. If any of you contribute to core or to a contributed module, somebody who's building a Drupal Commerce store can suck that right in. And also, merchants and developers benefit from content in commerce. That's a big push, right? Like, if you want to have a good e-commerce store, people need to be able to Google you. In order to Google you, they got to be able to find it. Google has to be able to index the content that helps sells you. So you often see people that have a Magento site. It's like shopmybrand.com, and then mybrand.com is the main content site. Well, you have this disconnect, right? How can you do cross promotion? Not as easily. If you have a Drupal site, anybody in here that is familiar with the field APIs, I was like, I'm going to edit my node type, I'm going to add a reference to my product, and boom, you have cross promotion built into it with no code. So that's one reason we feel that Drupal Commerce, on top of Drupal, creates this great platform. Also, then we don't have to write all that base stuff. We're just writing the e-commerce components that go on top of this awesome framework. And then Drupal Commerce makes a great pairing for third-party applications. As anybody who's written an integration with Drupal knows, has some pretty good APIs. Well, Drupal Commerce also provides a great e-commerce data model. Most upper e-commerce systems have their own ERP, product information management system. They have all these other things. They're at the core of their e-commerce system. Let Drupal Commerce be your front end. Let Drupal Commerce be the representation of your back-end systems for how I buy your product, how any of you buy your product. It doesn't have to just be managing all the things. You could just serve it as the front end to your main systems, which when going through this, I'll actually show one of our clients that uses it. It is literally just the front end for their subscription system. So, building a rich experience. What does Drupal Commerce 2 provide that makes it such a viable solution? And each of this builds on to what Drupal 8 really gives you out of the box too, because a lot of this wouldn't be possible without the great things that have come through. So one of the biggest improvements is we now have the idea of stores. So you can have multiple stores, you can have per store settings, the address for the store's email address. In some systems, it's just, this is the site email. That's all Drupal Commerce 1 was. You took the Drupal site email, that was it. So this way you can have these individual items. So that way you could set up either you have one site, but you have a store that's in the US that services UK and Canada. But then in all the other EU countries, let's say you have a store in France that services a few of the neighboring countries, you can now say you have these different stores within your one site that can service your different markets. So instead of literally having 3 different sites, you can control things a little bit more. And we do that by allowing products to belong to different stores. So you make My Awesome T-shirt. Well, My Awesome T-shirt's only available in the US. So you pick your US store, and poor people overseas can't have access to it. Sad face. And orders obviously belong to a single store, because when you physically buy something, you're not in 2 different places at the same time. So when you order something, it's for that specific store. And this also can let you do an Etsy style thing. I've had a few people well, why can't I order from 2 stores? Well, if you go on Etsy, you buy from one vendor at a time. You don't have an order that's 3 different vendors because each vendor fulfills it individually. So this does give you the capability to implement a marketplace. I just gave this talk in London earlier this month, and there's 3 people already asking about it, and we came up with some ideas. I don't know if they followed through on it, but I honestly believe in about 3 days of work, you could, in just modifying some access control around stores, you could have a marketplace up and running, I feel. You just there is code. There's some code and a little bit of know-how, but you probably could do a marketplace in about 3 days as a prototype. So one of our clients is LivePerson, and they own a subsidiary called Contact at Once. And these are when you go onto a website and you see the chat with us now, these are like the legit first people that started doing it. So this is a landing page to sign up for Contact at Once. Here it is for LivePerson. So these are 2 different stores. We treated each company brand as its own store for their landing pages. And on the store we have a logo field. So based on the product that's being viewed, we pull in that image based on the store, and we plug it into Drupal's core context system and the block system to swap things out. Like, okay, if we're viewing this product, what's its store? Show stuff from the store. Can't see it, but even the footer changes. The legal links, the social media links, all of it's controlled by the store. So for anybody on the more technical side that's familiar with domain, this is where you can start to really plug some things together and have your whole e-commerce site driven via a domain, and then the store that it references, and change the whole context of your website, which I think is great and awesome, especially in the ever-advancing e-commerce realm. Other project, Obermeyer. This is the first Drupal Commerce 2 site, which was integral to us building Drupal Commerce. One of the neat things here is there's only one store that you actually buy from, but we reuse the data model, right? Just because something has a purpose of this doesn't mean you can't use that model in another way. We used it by importing their customer master, which is all the stores that carry their products physically. We built a map, so you can go find the products wherever they're sold. That map uses geofield, geocoder, and leaflet modules. We didn't have to write anything. We just pulled in contributed modules that other people had helped written, contributed some patches as well. But here goes to this part, like, why is Drupal Commerce a great platform? Because it builds on Drupal and it builds on other projects that people have done. In a matter of time, we were able to build this map using a model in Commerce and then using contributed modules that are already available. And this is back a year ago. So that was when D8 was still like 8.1. So for anybody that says like, it's not ready yet, it's been ready. Another great thing is, another great thing is product attributes. So when you buy a t-shirt, this is a black t-shirt, it is an XL. This is one type of thing. If I went to go pick something, if I need to buy another shirt, it would be black medium, right? They're different things. It's not just some magical box where you say, I need this, pull it out, and it's exactly what you need. So we provide a way to manage these attributes, because that identifies your product options. So this lets you model your product properly, and that's how Drupal Commerce is built. However your products would look inside of a warehouse that need to be fulfilled, that's how you would architect your store. You would say, I have a t-shirt with size and color. And one of the nice things about Drupal 8 is they knew how the entities were given their full power. It's so easy to make new entity types and new data models. We did that, and that allows us to have this really power the add to cart form. So when you add a cart, right, you're picking different sizes. You can then add fields to these entities, which then will show up in the add to cart form. So if you want to have an image show instead of just the label, you could upload an image, and that way it shows a swatch of the. You could show a picture instead of just saying red. It could be a little red square. And that allows you to render it any way possible. So we have an option up there that lets you do radio buttons, select list, or the rendered attribute. And in this next slide, you'll kind of see what the rendered attribute lets you do. So the Obermeyer project, their red wasn't just called red. It had a specific name that you wouldn't necessarily read and understand it meant red. So thank you to the Sport Obermeyer project. It helped fund that ability to have attributes be rendered in any kind of way you want. And out of the box with Drupal Commerce, we give you like an attribute overview. So your catalog can render all your attributes for you. In this case, we have it showing the color. And the color in the back end is like, let's say it's majestic blue, something like that. Well, we attach that image to watch we render it. And then with some extra little magic, we make it that when you click one, it shows the default picture there. This does, because I know people have asked me, like, I don't want that. Because D8 and it being object-oriented, it wasn't hard to do. We extended the formatter that comes out of the box with Commerce, altered it a little bit to attach some JavaScript. So for anybody on the developer side, it's like, I don't like D8 because it's oop. No, it's good because otherwise you'd be copying about 500 lines of code. In this case, we just extended something and tweaked it. We were like, just a little bit. We want this. Which is another reason why I think it's a great platform, because no e-commerce site is an out-of-the-box solution, despite what Shopify and others want to say. You're gonna have specific business use cases, and you're gonna need to modify them along the road. And this is one way that it's great, because we were able to just extend and alter with honestly a little bit of minimal effort at the end of it all. So adding products to the cart. So the add to cart form is your part where you're telling people, please buy this. Like, we want you to love our product so much that you say you want it. So that means your add to cart form needs to be powerful to get them to, it has to be simple to use. So that way they actually say, I'm going to take this product. It's completely pluggable. It's built on top of the form display and field widgets. So if you want your add to cart form to look differently, you would edit the order item type, and there's an add to cart form display mode. And for anybody that's not a developer or is still like new to Drupal 8, the form display mode just says, how is this going to look when somebody's editing it? Right? That's the gist of it. So there's a purchase entity, that's the thing that they're buying, and there's different widgets for that. Out of the box, it says, as I pick options, drill down to what I meant to purchase. It could be a drop down of just product names. It can honestly be anything you want, and plug and play. For anybody who did Drupal Commerce 1, if you wanted to customize this, you had to do a form alter and play through a lot of mess, or you had to copy a whole module and rename everything. So this is a huge developer experience boost. This will make your clients happy because their add to cart form can be as funky and crazy as they want it to be. This is completely pluggable, builds on top of field widgets. If you want to show the quantity, if you want people to be able to enter the quantity, you drag it from the bottom and you show it and you say a number widget. It's that simple. If you want to add a custom field, like you have a cake shop and you want people to upload their kid's cute little face so they can have a screen printed on the cake, add an image field. And it lets them attach the image field, buy their sheet cake at 26 inches with the picture of the kid. You can go then and take your order, have that image attached, and it allows you to collect data along the way. Which again, like I said, client requirements, Shopify don't do that for you, and also neither do a lot of the other out-of-the-box solutions or even customizable ones, because we have Drupal as our groundwork. So here's an out-of-the-box add to cart form. Who would buy from this nice looking form? No one. So out of the box, attributes there, and they're set as a drop down. So let's kick it up a notch and switch it. Let's add an image field and tell it to render that attribute. This looks a little bit better, right? This is an experience that when you go to an e-commerce site, you expect now. If you go to an e-commerce site and do not see this when you're buying clothing, it's weird now. Drupal Commerce 1, you needed field extractor, fancy attributes, and like some other obscure step in order to do this. Now we give it to you out of the box. You just add an image field, and then you can say render it. So we empower you to be able to build the experiences that you've come to expect, and that your clients are expecting. So let's see what this could look like a little bit further, because mind you, this is all about just reusing the field widget system and the field API inside of Drupal 8. So here's the Obermeyer add to cart form. when you're one of us, when you're one of our normal people, because they have to avoid channel conflict. I don't know if for anybody working into B2B environments, you can't always sell direct to customers because you're competing with your own who you're distributing to. So what they have is it takes you off-site. So here we have the purchase entity widget right here. Just says we're going to show the color as an image. Then they pick the size, and when that resolves, we extended the add to cart form a bit, but the submit button takes you off-site to a client. For this, we created a custom widget. We had to extend the add to cart form, and it's probably only about 300 lines of code and maybe 3 files. That just took what's already there, just kicked it up a next notch. There's obviously some internal knowledge there, but it's much simpler. And as I said before, Drupal Commerce 1, you'd be copying a whole module, having to rename every little tidbit, and I'm not sure what this would be like in some other systems, but we have a really flexible API that you can build on. Here's that same add to cart form as somebody privileged enough to be able to buy direct through their as an employee for a discount. There, but now we show the add to cart button, so it can actually go to a bag. So it's really easy to get in there and provide these unique experiences that you probably will have as a requirement somewhere, especially in a B2B environment or a multi-seller. Because mind you, the Sport Obermeyer project was one site for their B2C, another site for this family and friends, and their entire B2B was on a different system. We consolidated 3 systems to 1. That saved them an insurmountable amount of money, because think of an average B2B system is probably, let's say $2,000 a month. We'll go around there. But let's say that they also have like a $10,000 like maintenance, like relicensing fee. You know, there's always all these like extra charges, and that got wiped away into one platform. And then speaking of B2B, there's a fancy grid that they order from. So obviously this, epic. This took a lot to do, but we did it. I mean, that's the great part, is we were able to accomplish something like this. I would love to see a way to, I'm not going to be able to give you this out of the box. No, there's no way we'll be able to provide something like this out of the box. I'm hoping to take any experience learned in this to give the developers better tools to more easily generate this, such as what's the variation matrix look like. That was the hardest part. The hardest part wasn't the form or saying to add things to the cart, because we've given enough APIs. The hard part was calculating the product matrix. Like, well, here's all the sizes. Well, what's the fit per size? How do we render the checkboxes or the inputs? But again, the Obermeyer project took, Brent, we say a year?
Thereabouts, yeah.
A year. We didn't even have an alpha tagged or 2.x yet. So we did all this in 1 year. And it wasn't some magical team either. It was myself and a handful of Blue Spark champions. So it's not some crazy, outrageous dream. We did it, and now it's already, now a lot of these things weren't there before, so now they are. So that means you could even implement this much faster and faster and faster. Order types. This has me the most excited out of all of our features. So you have different order types sometimes. So let's say, at the most basic example is you sell digital and physical products. Well, a digital product, you don't need a shipping address, but you might need them to upload, you might need some other extra data in order to receive to give them their upload. Like, let's say some good assigned document, I don't know, whatever your business requirements could be. So it allows you to collect different data for different experiences. It allows you to use different workflows. So in 1.x, I like to say when you edit in an order, it was like walking up to a wall and there's levers everywhere. And it was like, okay, manage it. And you're like, well, I'll pull this one and see what happens. It wasn't that bad, but it gave you no direction. And one of those was the workflow for an order. So here, you can pick, we give you some defaults, like default with validation, fulfillment, that. So your digital order might just have default, where it goes from a draft, it's been placed, now it's completed, dead simple. But your shipping one might need fulfillment, where it goes from a draft, finished checkout, so it was placed, and now it's in this fulfillment stage where you print off the pick list and your little busy workers go to the warehouse and start pulling stuff off the shelves. And once that's been marked and ready to ship, you click another button and it gets marked as completed. Now, this lets you say, okay, I have a digital order. It has a specific lifeline. It goes from A to B to C. And then my shipping one goes A, B, C, D. It gives it much more direction. And different configurations, you can make the cart form look different. You can make the cart block look different. And we're going to touch on checkout flows, but it allows it to have a different checkout flow. So that way you can make sure you give a proper experience when you tell people, please give me your money. So to touch on order types, here's a screenshot from the CAO checkout where we have to collect first name, last name, title, contact email, phone, business address, dealer type, dealer group. Long list. But here's the one for the LivePerson LiveEngage product. It's a lot different. So we have 2 order types to collect different data that we use to provision their accounts and send off to the back-end subscription system. Having the 2 order types is dear. And we're actually going to be launching the CA one today. It launched this morning. And that we flipped this from D7 to D8 starting mid-December, and we finished now. But we didn't have to worry about migrating old data. And previously in D7 we did something like this, but we had like form alters, and they're like, well, if this magical condition happens, please don't show this form field. And it worked great, but then as it started to grow and grow and grow, there's 9 different flows in their system. So we put 1.x to like a breaking point, I would say. So Drupal Commerce 2 is honestly like our saving grace that allowed us to meet their business requirements in a much more sandbox and viable way that we didn't have to worry about possibly, if you edit thing 1, thing 5 might break. So that's a great lead into the custom checkouts. So each order type says what checkout flow it has, or you can get all developer-y and override that. It allows you to customize it in the UI. So if you are familiar with Drupal Commerce 1, we had the checkout settings form, and we called them pages, and you could drag things from one page to the other, like billing and shipping information. We call those steps now, because who's bought something on Apple? And you notice it's like an accordion style. You don't go to a different page, but you submit one, Ajax close, Ajax open. We haven't built that yet, but the new system allows you to create something like that. So that's why it's called steps, because page doesn't make sense anymore. We're becoming too used to a single page checkout experience, even if it's not literally one page, but just different steps within a page. So this is the pane one, or you can use pure code. Out of the 2.x sites I've built, I've never used our pane system actually. I've just written it in Form API because it's that simple to do. And we also give you some out-of-the-box common UX patterns. So I hope you've noticed that trend, like with the edit card. We make it easy for you to follow common assumptions in e-commerce. Because we spent a lot of time reading into it. We spent a lot of time having our affiliate partner, Acromedia, do UX research for checkout. One of the things, login, or continuous guest, or register at checkout. In D7, there's like 4 or 5 modules that all try to do it, but none like really went all the way. You get it now. So people can log in, they can continue as guests. There's a setting to change continue as guest as to be registered. So that's a big one there. Another one, and this we were really on the fence about doing because it really breaks Drupal patterns, give you a sidebar. Because out of almost every checkout we went to, there's information you input and then an immutable sidebar that shows you information about your order. So we've gone and done that for you. But we were okay doing this because Drupal 8 gives you Twig. It gives you, Drupal 8 provides ways to give defaults that are easily peeled backwards. We can give you an assumption that says here is a common best practice that we have found. And in 1.x, we didn't do that. We left you a blank slate. And you were supposed to be the experts that then built an e-commerce system. Well, now we want to say, we're claiming to know what we're doing, so let's give you an assertion on what is the best practice. This is one of them. Pretty soon, working on it today, there will be a coupon redemption form in the right-hand side of the sidebar, because most patterns has click a link, show a form, submit it, apply coupon in the sidebar underneath the summary. Then you'll be able to override it with a few clicks. Another one is the payment information. A lot of systems will have the billing information up here. Drupal Commerce one was guilty of this. And then the payment completely separated. But if you're saving cards on file, the billing address is tied to that credit card or their other billing method, or the fact that when they're in here, they might have their card up and they're all ready for it. So it's tied together because in our backend, it is associated in that way. If you don't have the payment module enabled, there is just like a billing form. Because if you have free orders, then it would fall back to the different one. Again, you're going to do a quick show of what it's like to buy as a VIP. Again, this is all form API code for a single page checkout. Right? Enter their card number, submit, wham, bam, done. Using the checkout pane system was a little bit of overhead, so just wrote a plugin, doing a little bit of a form API and some Twig. It was all set. Well, I thought I had slides disappear. Sorry, there are some more examples of why this is awesome. So another big part is scaling for internationalization. I don't know if you heard the hot news, but D8 is really multilingual, and this is true, and it is pretty awesome on what you can do. And international e-commerce is kind of a thing. Well, kind of a big thing. So you can harness Drupal's localization and internationalization capabilities to grow your e-commerce business. Because, right, you can only grow so big before you have to jump into another market. Here, well, our other market is other states. But, in other places, it's jumping to a new country. We have a client where they're like a bulk food wholesaler. And they're based out of Sweden. Well, now they're jumping to Norway and then to Denmark. So they need to jump these international sites. They're not on D8, but it kind of helped build this use case of why we need this to scale. We want it so that if you have a backend ERP that manages everything, you can just spin up a Drupal site or a Drupal Commerce site, or using multi-store to be able to scale out to your different markets and go international. Here's one example. Before 2.x was first written, there was a sprint in 2014 in Paris where they worked on libraries. And this is with whoever used to be part of, I can't remember the company's name, but now they're part of Invika. And there was somebody from Sensio Labs, I believe. It was a coming together of different PHP developers to solve e-commerce problems in a generic PHP way. Because in Drupal Commerce, we try to solve all these problems in Drupal, but they're not, right? Pricing, internationalization, addressing, figuring out addresses, those aren't Drupal problems. Those are just problems in general. Ones that people have solved, namely Google has done a lot of it, and a lot of people use Google's libraries. So we actually wrote PHP ports of a lot of those. And you can kind of see that here with, this is actually through CLDR, which, again, Google actually taps data from, and like Apple. So I set up a site that had Portuguese, but in Brazil and Portugal, and then I went for German. So before, when I showed you that add to cart form, this is viewing it as of different languages. And if you notice, the big thing to pay attention to is the price, and I should highlight that. So in Brazilian Portuguese, it's US, our $sign, 89,50. Then you go over here, where it's formatted differently, it's 89,50 US, then our $sign. And again, in German, it just shows our $sign, it doesn't show the USD. So all we had to do is just view it in a different language, and our price formatter tapped into our other libraries and automatically formatted it properly based on their locale. And that's one important thing too, is this isn't just language, it's locale. Because otherwise these two would be the same if we just said, it's Portuguese. So it actually respects the region. Again, libraries are based on CLDR for the currencies and their formatting. Addressings from Google. So we allow you to import all of the currencies that exist, or at least are known in CLDR. And if you want, you could edit them. Somebody actually brought up a use case where their store doesn't have decimals, so they wanted to delete the fractions. So that way just everything was hard stopped. I don't know if they actually went through because I think 0 through an invalidation error. But the biggest case on why would I want to make a custom currency, Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not in CLDR. Dogecoin, crypto coin, whatever coin. I made my own country coin. You could then add a custom currency and be able to support that. What's the big topic right now? Because we've had this, I like to call it first world open source problems. We have a lot of contributors and a lot of early adopters, especially ones that are now tackling multiple currency, where they want to say, like, based on the country you're coming from, it's going to be in your local currency. I don't know the status of this now. This is a little outdated, but we had just committed something that let you hot swap the price and currency without it possibly erring. It's being documented. Like I said, it's being actively implemented by different contributors. There's a gentleman in India. I know somebody at Actuels, our French partner, has been working on it, and then somebody else. Have you been working on it too at all? No? Okay. I know we've had a lot of people diving into it, which is great because we're working to get an RC out. I'm working on promotions solely. So having a community base that's actively working on it too and helping find these other use cases it's great. So, talking about trying to get the RC ready and working on promotions, we've had a lot of people say, well, it doesn't do this. What about this? Well, it's Drupal 8. Nothing in Drupal 8 is ready because of contrib space. Not really. We've been working hard cooking in the kitchen, so our communication hasn't been that great. We know it, but as a small team, especially with 1.5 people building it full time, communication kind of falls to the wayside until we actually get to conferences. So I want to talk about our current integrations that are available with an asterisk. These are contributed modules there, and anything that you need to integrate, you can slap down some lines of code and get it tossed up. Payment gateways and merchants. This is our bread and butter right now, right? You can't adopt an e-commerce platform if you can't take money with it through your merchant. We're now up to 17 payment gateways. That's not all of them on here. Braintree was one of the first. We were actually sponsored by Braintree to write this, and it drove our payment API. So thank you, PayPal. The next up was with the Obermeyer project, ported to authorize.net. So I know both of these are taking money in production. PayPal Express Checkout was written by a contributor that just was like, hey, I needed this, got it. The Payflow payment gateway, again, contributor came out like, I had a client that's using Payflow. We didn't have it yet. Here's the sandbox, work to merge it into the main project. So that was like the first moment, like, people are writing, they contributed modules already. Like, this is crazy. Stripe, Scott Hooker did that in 6 hours. 6 hours someone ported a payment gateway because we made sure to write a payment API that you didn't have to make decisions. It was like, implement this interface. Well, if you did, you better do something here. Like, really simple. Like, the most thing you have to do is remember to save the payment for any changes you've done. So that, I know with 1.x, even for myself, it'd be like a 4-day process sometimes to write a payment gateway, just because there's so much you have to write. WeChat Pay was done by a contributor in China. I believe that lets you like pay with a text message or something like that. Genico, Vantiv, and Worldline. And there's more coming down the pipe right now. I'm currently working on one for Square Up, whichever it goes by. And then other integrations. These ones going along. Avatax by Avalara was integrated with, because LivePerson needed to calculate taxes. So that got pushed. And then thanks to Mike and also Ben, we have FedEx. In January, this company called Adapt funded Buoyant's Time, aka said, we will give you money to focus your priority to get shipping done, which it delayed us on getting commerce to RC, but at least now we have a stable commerce shipping beta. So you can ship products, which is a huge requirement. And then all of a sudden, we're in the issue queue, and shipping's just about done. And people are like, we got FedEx done, by the way. I was like I said, first world open source problems. Like, we had somebody that finished an integration before we were even like thinking about that. So thank you to that. And this list is just going to keep growing as people need it. And I hope that by seeing that there's already these contrib modules ported, we have focused on building a robust API that makes it easy for you to adopt Drupal Commerce, either by the configuration or as a developer saying, I need to integrate with this one resource. How can I do it? Documentation is getting there, but we've made sure that at least the code is extremely documented and extremely forward with its expectations. So, if you want to learn more, you can go to drupalcommerce.org/blog/commerce-2.x. I attached the slides, or if you just go on there. You can read some of the backstory about why these decisions were made. That add to cart form that showed using an image to render a widget, I wrote a blog post on, so it shows you how to do it. We need to convert it to docs, but at least it's in a blog post. Speaking of docs, you can go to docs.drupalcommerce.org/v2, and you can read up on how to do this. Acromedia has one of their new hires actually working to fulfill my request of taking all of our tests and turning them from code, making sure we didn't break stuff, to how do I do things? Because we have intense code coverage, actually, thanks to D8 and PHP unit. Or you can find us in IRC at Drupal Commerce. And I forgot to add Slack because earlier in the month I wasn't on the Drupal Slack. But if you're on Drupal Slack, go to the Commerce channel and you can get some good chatting on and questions answered. Want to try it out? So who here used Commerce Kickstart to and set up a demo store to like experiment with it? Okay, some people did. We ain't porting it to D8 because we don't really need to. All Commerce Kickstart like provided the UX experimentation that then kind of became the standard experience with Drupal Commerce. We kind of made sure that was built out of the box. So I have a demo module that will install an ebook product type, a t-shirt product type. It installs some demo data. So if you need to learn how to import products from a CSV, code sample. It has a lot of code samples on things you can do, but also gives you a way to just install something and try it out. And if you want a full Drupal 8 project, I have the Commerce project template that I set up, which comes out of the box with the hat testing, Circle CI implementation, Travis CI, and has a script to install the demo store. So this is my way for you to try it, and this is my way to show it. Here's how you build a stable Drupal Commerce site that can have CI and CD integration, so that way you know you ship a stable product. Because we're not just building Drupal Commerce, but we need to make sure that you use it right, that you have faith in it. And these are my two projects to help help you learn, and also know that we are not just thinking about shipping Drupal Commerce and being done. So, I don't think I have that much time left. 6 minutes. So, time for some quick questions, because I know this is usually like the biggest part of it. Bam, what you got?
I don't think I heard you talk about exchange rates.
So, Drupal Commerce 1 had a way to like kind of hook in and do that. We don't have that like in it right now. That would be part of the whole multi-currency discussion on how do you switch it from being US dollar to all of a sudden being euro. We have a system called price resolving. So when you add something to the cart, every time that cart refreshes, it makes sure it's not out of date, it takes that product's price and tries to resolve what its cost is. Is there new discounts available? Is there B2B pricing now because they logged in? You would hook into that process and say, run me last. You would, using the service container, you'd tag into it and say, run me last, take that final price that has come through, and then run it through like an API, and then say, here's the price that's going to finally be shown to the user. That whole process isn't really documented yet, but I do have an example of how to give a discount using it in the demo module.
And does it integrate with anything like in 7, like rules, where you can calculate it?
No rules. Rules is gone from Drupal Commerce, and that puts a really big smile on my face, just because I thought rules was extremely unperformant. It's again one of those, like, we gave you a blank slate, and yes, people can do crazy things in rules that they shouldn't. Where you see 20 conditions and it's like, okay, I know that it was easy not to write code, but really that should have been ported into code. But here's a good reason why. So in the work of the initial D8 land, there's a condition system in Drupal core. And when it came time to write promotions, the D8 rules movement was like really slowing down, and there wasn't even an alpha yet, and we had to make a decision. Well, I realized that they took the core condition plugin and just made a UI around it. So I was like, well, why don't we do that? So we have right now promotion conditions, which are going to be spun out to just being commerce conditions, and will be used to define how a payment gateway is used, how a shipping method is used, so that way you can have different payment methods and shipping methods per store. So we don't have rules, but we're harnessing Core's condition system, which is how the block placement works. So what lets you do all the different visibility settings with blocks, we're using to say, does a promotion apply? Does this payment gateway, can it be used? The shipping method, is it valid? So you don't have rules, but it's kind of in Core. So, and also if you find a use case that's missing, open an issue, because that's one of the biggest things we need feedback. And this time around with Drupal Commerce, people have been shouting, which is great, because we need to hear, not literally shouting, but they've actually been telling us their problems. Like, that's great, because we can't build a great product unless we know what your requirements are. And it's not going to go into a freeze like 1.x kind of did. It's going to keep going.
I've enjoyed the bigger examples, but can I just use Drupal Commerce V2 on V8 to sell a node, access to a node?
Yes. You would use it like the same kind of pattern that you would do in 1.x, where you would install some kind of content access, and then just, so with the workflow is powered by State Machine, which unfortunately that was built before the content moderation in Core, and it's almost a verbatim of what's in Core now. Whenever you go from a state to another state, there's a transition event. So you would listen on commerce order placed, because we say that everything has to have a place. That's when it's no longer a draft and it's been considered ready to be worked on. You would listen to that event, and you would grant the user the role, or you would insert into the content access table or whatever and say they don't have access to this node. It's going to be a lot simpler than it was before. I don't know if it's necessarily something that you could do in the UI, but it's still content access. Say there's this rule, one file, to write the event subscriber that says on this event, run my method, in the method say provision, and then you just have to write that in your services.yaml. So yeah, it's pretty simple. It's something that in the docs we do have code recipes for things like that. So if you had that use case, go to the docs, click edit this page, bring it to the GitHub, open an issue, but can you document how to do this? You know, it's probably only be like 60 lines of code. So,
Do you anticipate this being used for camps in the future?
So last year I started working on a Drupal camps profile that was with the MidCamp organizers as a way to provide a new version that's not COD and that has commerce really baked into it. I haven't had time for it because of this. I started working on it now. I added some of the hat tests. I added some of the scheduling items. I talked with a few of the people in London. We're going to meet up in Baltimore, so I have a feeling Baltimore is going to be the coming together of conference organizers and trying to find a solid platform. I would love it. I would love to have great ticketing support because also one thing, Boyan, as I said, I do our client work. Well, there's other people that now do it too because we've grown to 7 people. Boyan is fully 2.x via recurring revenue through integration partners. So because we are an integration partner with Authorize.net, PayPal, and a few others, we get like 0.001 of a transaction. So that 2.6% you pay, of that 2.6%, we get like 0.001. Doesn't sound like a lot, but with the amount of users and the amount of flow they go, that pays Boyan's salary. So I would love to grow adoption, especially for camps, instead of using Eventbrite to this, because what if that means that I can have one day, as just doing 2.x? 2 days. My Mondays are generally just contrib days and like planning. But the more adoption we get and the more that people use tech partners or that we get tech partners, that like affiliate is what can help grow the project. And that's the approach we're really taking with it too, is like, if we want to work on just this, we have to grow it via adoption or by being the or by agencies coming in and asking us to architect something. So, yeah. Any other?
You alluded to the single page. Can you expand a little bit about that? Sure.
Like the single page checkout?
Yeah.
So you could customize. In 1.x, there was no way to do a single page checkout properly. Now you can. It's a single form class, and you could tell the form that when it reloads, or you get to make an AJAX that it hides certain sections and renders in the next step instead of actually reloading the page. Or you could customize it to say there's only 2 steps. I mean, you could say 1 when they click submit it charges payment, but that's illegal in some places because it has to have a review where they can verify. So you could just knock it down to 2 steps. With the pane, that would just be dragging it into just 2 portions.
Do you have an example of that? Or?
No,
Okay.
unfortunately not. One thing that I would like to do if I get some free time is the accordion style that Apple does, using the pane system. Be able to show I drag this, and then when it's rendered, it does the whole accordion bit. But right now, no. And I just realized it's 3:15, so I think we're kicked out.